Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long, the Full Metal Traveler, here with my co-explorer, as always, Amy Long.
Hi, guys.
We're coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. We're in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios, and we have a really fun show. I'm going to nerd out on this one.
Absolutely.
Because it is a little bit more history-based. It is a little bit more like engineering and stuff based. And so, I just kind of really get into that sort of talk. And we are talking about the Hoover Dam.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating, I think, for anybody to see it.
Yeah. I mean, and you'll hear me use this. This is the phrase of this episode. It is a modern engineering marvel. That is what I'm going to say. I'll probably say it several times during the course of the show, but it really is, and it's a really fun place to visit right outside of Las Vegas. And if you've come to Vegas several times, or if you've never been at all, it's definitely one of those places that should be high on your list because it is relatively free. Yeah. While it is free to get into to see the dam, it is $10 to park. So not very much. And then there are price tags for like if you want to take a tour and things like that. But we'll get to that in just a little bit, but it is one of those kind of, iconic landmarks around the Las Vegas area. I mean, you could count it up there with the fountains and, you used to have white tigers at MGM, not anymore. And pretty soon, we're running out of icons and landmarks around here.
Well, they're making new ones.
Yeah, they're making new ones, but it's nothing like the old school, right?
Right.
But this one, makes the others pale in comparison. And it's actually a project that goes back to the early part of the 20th century, going all the way back to like 1902, around this time period, because a lot of people wonder why, because of the issues that we're facing now currently, both with the ecology and everything else and the environmental and all of that, like why did we even build a dam to house a city in the desert and everything? But it's like anything else, it's much more complicated than
right.
that, right? So if you go back to like the early 1900s, whereas right now we are kind of in that middle of a mega drought is what they call it. So we barely get any rain around here, which is kind of famous. Las Vegas is famous for that. At this time period, it's one of the wettest time periods in the Western United States on record. So the Colorado River, which stretches, through multiple states in the western part of the United States, has a bit of a flooding problem.
Yeah.
It's flooding in multiple stages, and especially around 1905 to 1907, there's significant flooding in Southern California, where a little town called Los Angeles is, and especially like the farming areas that are outside of Los Angeles at this time. It's flooding like 100,000 acres bad as far as the flood. And so the Bureau of Reclamation, which is the government resource that follows, water and things like that, they started looking at it going, okay, we've got to do something about this. Obviously, it can't continue. So this is why, a shorter version of why the Hoover Dam was created in the first place, why it even started taking shape.
So to help with flooding.
Yeah, that's the main reason. Another one could be, again, kind of agricultural. They want to, harness the water. Because, the Colorado River back then was a raging river, and there was no way to contain it. It would, flooding happen and spill over its banks all the time. Another one is once we get further into the timeline with the Hoover Dam, you start seeing, what America is going through. The Great Depression. Right. Kind of a worldwide thing, too, the Great Depression happening. And so they also had this idea of like, hey, let's put people to work. And man, did they put a lot of people to work during this period of time. So it has, all of these different things. And plus, it's a growing part of the country. They need a way to get water to people. And so what better way to, now I don't know how all of this works. I am just a simple radio host.
We saw all the diagrams. You didn't understand it?
I didn't understand any of it. I'm fascinated by all of it, but I don't understand any of it. So, so we made our way out there to the Hoover Dam. But first, when we first ride up on like we're in a posse. When we first get to the Hoover Dam, what are your initial thoughts when you take these like curving mountain roads and then all of a sudden it just kind of breaks across the landscape?
It's one of those things that you see it in movies, you see it on a TV show, but when you see it in person, you really are impressed by how huge it is, because seeing it on a TV screen or even in a movie theater, it's big, but actually seeing it with your own eyes, you can finally comprehend the scale of this thing. And it's funny because we were talking to our daughter and she said she can't really understand scale. And I was like, see all the little bitty squares on there? That's like, the size of our house basically. And there's hundreds of these stacked on top of each other. So it's just really impressive to see how giant this really is, and to know that they built this in just a few years, really. They actually came in ahead of schedule.
They came in, before the schedule was done and under budget. And, it was crazy. And it is really a testament to, at that time period and even stretching to modern day, like, the ingenuity and sometimes just tenacity of moving forward, because they employed tens of thousands of workers. And we were told we did go on the tour, and it was like thousands of men at a time working 3 shifts, basically around the clock.
3,500 men for 3 shifts. So that's what, I can't do math. 10, over 10,000 people working in 3 shifts.
Good thing we're not building the Hoover Dam. I can't read. You can't count. Like, that would be bad. And so, just pushing through. These guys only got 2 days off a year. One was Christmas, the other 4th of July. That kind of thing. But, just persevering through this and building something that otherwise wasn't there. They had to shape the canyon around it. They had to divert the river. How did they do these things? I'm sure it would be much cooler if we would have had like an engineer or something on here really to kind of explain it, but it's not that kind of podcast. It's more about visiting the dam.
Well, and that's the thing. So when you start, if you do, you don't have to do the tours. And we've gone many times and not done the tour. But this time we decided we're going in. There's 2 different tour options. One, you just go into the power plant. The other one, you actually go and you can walk inside the dam. But both of them start with this like 5-minute movie that talks about how the dam was created. And I didn't realize everything they had to do just to get to the point to start building the dam. So they did have to blow chunks of the mountain away and build these huge diversion tunnels and divert the water away from its natural course, and then start building the dam there. And it was just seeing the video really put it into perspective how much work these people did. It was very, very impressive. So when you actually get to the dam, you have a much better understanding of what it took to make this happen.
I don't think really anything can prepare you for, you kind of mentioned the scope and the scale of this thing, because the pictures that people normally see of the Hoover Dam is from a distance. It's like aerial shots, which is very cool, by the way. Yeah. We've done helicopter tours of the Hoover Dam.
Yes.
I highly recommend that if you can find it. And the scale, once you come up on it and you actually go inside of it like we did for this tour, is almost mind-blowing. Like, how did people do it? I got a little claustrophobic standing there, and we're in modern times. No, there's no problems at all. So going in there just like, hey, look, it doesn't matter what's happening. We're going to get this built because the clock says we need to get this built, and the government is breathing down our neck and everything else. So it's really exciting to kind of go there and be a part of this history that's even right now ever evolving.
Yeah.
The dam is, and the turbines and everything else along with it are constantly under construction and everything else. So we're going to get into it, a little bit of the engineering, some more know before you go type of things before you head out there. It's the Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long, your host, here with my co-explorer, Amy Long.
Hi.
We're coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the Diamondback Landscaping Studio, home to a lot of things, including the Hoover Dam, which is what we're talking about now.
Do you think Diamondback is fascinated by the Hoover Dam as much as we are?
I know Trent Keenan, and I know he is absolutely fascinated by Hoover Dam. Anything that he can survey, honestly, the man is fascinated by it. So,
well, I think a lot of people are. I don't know if you have the stats on here, but I mean, every time we go out there, there's hundreds of people out on the dam, walking across it, taking pictures, taking the tours.
We do need to look and see how many people visit Hoover every year, but we do, talking about the engineering part. We kind of gave you the why they created it, but now like the engineering part lets you know, we were talking about the scale of it and how it's really hard to comprehend sometimes, but some of it that's because it was the first of its kind, really.
Right.
It is, some people wonder, what kind of dam it is. It is a arch gravity dam, which is a combination of two different types of dams, an arch dam and a gravity dam. And this is kind of their, blending of the two. And it uses basically, I don't know the science behind this, okay, but it combines the strengths of two of those forms, the arch dam and the gravity dam, and it directs most of the water pressure against the canyon walls, providing the force to compress the dam. So it's not really, I guess, if you're engineering, don't kill me on this. It's not really the dam holding it back, but it's the pressure against the canyon walls. So that's why they had to search for so long and find the perfect place, which was, in where it is, which used to be called, I think, Black Canyon. I think that's
what they said it was called.
And originally it was called Boulder Dam.
Well, from what I was reading, people were unofficially calling it Hoover Dam, but it was officially named once it was completed.
Yeah.
Boulder Dam, but everybody still called it Hoover Dam.
And so it didn't get the official name until 1947?
Something like that.
I think it had opened in 36. I think that's when it officially was open, 35 or 36, when it officially was open. And people were like, why, modern day, you probably wonder why Herbert Hoover. Oh, it's because he was our 31st president. But no. It's not just because of that. Old Clarky boy did have a lot to do with it. That Clark is his middle name. He was actually, I think, the Secretary of Commerce when it happened. And they unofficially dubbed him the Great Engineer because he had the vision and basically pushed this thing through from his time in 1921 as a Secretary of Commerce to its completion and everything. So afterwards, it was named after him, and he's that guy. But it actually went through all of these presidents. It started back in 1902 with like Theodore Roosevelt and went all the way to who dedicated it? FDR, Theodore's son, all those years later. But it went through Calvin Coolidge and all these other folks. So
he really is nerding out on the history part of this.
I'm so happy about this. But how much did it cost? That's a big question. And look, the tour guides, and we will tell you a little bit later, the tour guides will answer any question they possibly can about the dam, except for one, and we'll tell you later what that one question is that they cannot answer for you.
They will tell you up front, I will not answer this question for you. And wouldn't you know it, 3 people asked the question. And I'm sure they were just being funny, but it got a little old. Yeah,
they kept asking. So how much did it cost? It cost approximately $49 million from the 1930s during the middle of the Great Depression, adjusted for inflation right now, about $760 million, which actually seems like a bargain.
Yeah, I would have thought
seeing as they build
more.
Football stadiums for like $2 billion now.
Right.
It seems like a little bit of a bargain. But the government allocated the $49 million, and wouldn't you know, the winning bid came in at $48,890,955. They nailed that bid. Wow, it's crazy. Anyway.
Well, the things I found super interesting when we were watching the video, again, you start every tour with this video that tells you all about why they built the dam, what they had to go through to even get to the process of building the dam.
Sure.
But when they were talking about how much concrete or cement, I guess it's called cement when it's wet, right? Sure. How much cement it took to build the dam, and that at one point they were bringing in, it was a crazy amount, like these giant buckets of concrete, the size of a concrete truck. They had these giant buckets that were dropping every 70 seconds in place. And I was like, that's fascinating that they were moving, and they still have the levee system that they use to move this concrete in place. Yeah. But they said that they estimated it would take over 100 years for the concrete to cool. So they had to figure out how to cool the concrete. Otherwise, they weren't going to be able to build it. And it was really interesting to see what they did, how they end up putting basically this piping system that ran cold water between the sections of concrete to cool it down instantly. And, in your head, you're like, oh, it's the 1930s. They didn't have this technology because we're so naive, But it's kind of fascinating to see.
I can't comprehend what they didn't have, and so I just assumed they didn't have anything that we have now.
Right. But it was really interesting to see how they figured this out.
Yeah, it was. It was something crazy. It was over 500 miles of this cooling system in these bars. They pumped cooling water constantly. They built a pumping station. 24 hours a day, it would shoot cold water through there to cool these segments of concrete and cement and everything. Because, like you said, it would take, if they poured it all in one pour, like I would think of doing, it would take 125 years to cool. So it'd still be cooling right now. And when it cooled, it would probably crumble because it just didn't have the support and everything. But it stands 726.4 feet tall, which is about 221 meters for our friends outside of the U.S. 21,000 men worked on the dam, an average of 3,500 in each shift. The lowest wage was 50 cents a day. The highest wage was $1.25 a day. Hey, and they got 2 days off a year, like I said. Average monthly payroll was about $500,000 for these companies. And right now, today, it irrigates over 1.5 million acres of land, and it provides water to over 16 million people. I think that number is probably closer to 20 now. But the crest length, the one at the top, that bow, over 1,200 feet, 1,244 feet, about 379 meters. And you can walk it.
Yeah.
People, if you're first time there, you can walk it. Cars drive across it. It used to be one of the main roads before they built a highway kind of bypassing it.
Well, when we moved to Vegas, that's the way we came into the city. Yeah. We didn't actually drive over the Hoover Dam. We drove over the new bridge that's next to it. Yeah. But that was when we moved here from Texas, you pulling a U-Haul, we came in front of the Hoover Dam, and that was our entrance into Nevada.
Yeah. That was a fun time. And then, I'm trying to keep my truck on the road, pulling a U-Haul and look at the dam at the same time, which they built a higher wall. You can't even see over it. So I almost died for nothing. But, it is super interesting. So when we come back, we're going to give you some great tips, some tour tips, and more. The Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long, your host, here with my co-explorer, Amy Long.
Hi.
We are Chattanoogan. There we go. About Hoover Dam. If you've never visited, you need to be there. Of course, we're coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios, where they love to survey anything. If they could, I don't know. You know what? I will ask Trent, if he's ever had the opportunity to survey through his company, the Hoover Dam.
That would be interesting.
That'd be very interesting if he has. So we're chatting about the Hoover Dam, and it's one of the 7 modern wonders of the engineering world.
Yeah.
Along with places like Golden Gate Bridge and
Empire State Building
and places like that. So it's really fascinating. We're going through some of the facts and figures, and we recently went through a guided tour and spent some time out there. And one of the most popular questions is always, how many people lost their lives?
Right.
It's one of those kind of morbid things. I think people are just curious, especially back then when they didn't really have the, OSHA and,
Right.
and all the regulations
Right.
and things, safety regulations that we do now. In fact, that was actually right at the time when right before hard hats were even invented. So most of these guys, a lot of people perished from falling rocks, things of that nature. And I think our tour guide told us that the other biggest killer was
Carbon monoxide. That was surprising. Yeah. So as we said, our tour guide was very open to answer any questions that we had, except for one. And we'll get to what that one question is. But someone did right off the bat ask how many people died while building this. And he said the official number is 96. That's what was claimed by insurance. But the number is really more closer to 250 people. But the most interesting fact about that, interesting, sad, I don't know, was that the first person that died was the father of the last person that died building the dam, which is very sad. Like father and son both lost their lives building this dam, but they bookended the deaths out there.
The first person to die was a surveyor named J.G. Tierney. And the last person to die was his son, Patrick Tierney, which is kind of sad. It's actually very sad. But there's a myth that always is associated with Hoover Dam. So people think it's haunted and things like that. It's not.
Maybe.
It's a myth that, well, maybe, I don't know, that there are several men entombed in concrete in the dam because people like to think it was, made in one solid pour. And even though that concrete was delivered, like you were talking about earlier, in these huge buckets, 20 ton buckets at a time, every 70 seconds, it would only fill up a few inches, at most a foot at a time, of concrete. So it's a little hard for a body to get entombed at that time. So there's no dead bodies in the Hoover Dam, although a lot of people did catch the flu. Carbon monoxide flu, and since it doesn't kill you instantly, they would go home, and that's how they got out of insurance claims.
Right.
The six it was called Six Companies, the builders, and that's how they got out of all these insurance claims, is because all these workers just got the flu and died. Man, that's not a work related thing. That's whatever. Oh, so dirty.
These are the kind of the interesting things you learn when you take the tour.
This is what you learn.
Because we'd gone several times and we'd never done the tour. We'd always just gone and seen the dam, walked across it, did pictures. You can go up to the bridge and look down on the dam. We've done all this, but this time we're like, no, we want to go inside. We want to see it.
Excited.
It was very cool. But I think the coolest part was having the tour guides tell you all this stuff that you don't even think about. You're like, oh, I'm just going to go in. I'm going to see the inside workings of this dam. But no, you're hearing all this interesting history and things that, I mean, it's morbidly interesting, I guess. I don't know how else to put it.
I think one of the fascinating things we were talking about concrete and cement and everything. The amount of cement used was enough to build a 4-foot wide walkway around the equator of the Earth. Another way to put it is building a 2-lane highway from San Francisco to New York, with that concrete and everything. So it's amazing how much went into this during such a crazy time period in the United States, much less the world and everything. So there are several different tour options. There are the guided tours, which you can just tour the power plant. Is the power plant?
Yeah, just the power plant.
You can buy those tickets online. You can secure your spot because they do often sell out. There are tickets for the guided tour for you to go inside the Hoover Dam, but you can't buy those tickets online.
Right.
It's first come, first serve. First tour starts at 9 a.m. Last tour is, I think, leaves at 3:45. And man, we got there early and they were already filled up. We had to wait for a while.
So we wanted to do the full tour, which was going inside the dam and doing the power plant. Yeah. And because we wanted to do the full tour, you have to purchase in person. They open at 9. We were in line at 9:15, and there wasn't that many people in front of us. Mm-hmm. But by that point, we were already in the 11 o'clock tour group. Yeah. So we should have gotten there, I guess, an hour before they opened. I don't know. I mean, the tours aren't huge. I think there was maybe 30-ish people in our full tour, but the power plant tour had like 50 people in it. And at one point we were combined with them. So there were a lot of us at one point
and that's
in that tiny little room.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like if you buy a ticket for the Hoover Dam, like the full experience, you get to see the power plant as well. If you just buy a ticket for the power plant, you only see the power plant. You don't get to walk inside the actual walls of the Hoover Dam and everything. But at one point, if you're in the Hoover Dam experience, they do combine you with the power plant folks. And you guys, it's kind of like Highlander, only one can survive. No, not really. But like you are in this big group, it can be up to 80 people.
Right.
And during summer months, it's more than likely going to be 80 people because tons of people out there. You want to get there early. You want to get there early, number one, because it's hot.
It is hot.
I don't know if you've been to Vegas in the summertime, but it ain't cold here. It is very warm. You're going to want to bring water. They allow you to bring water on your guide. They have refill stations and everything, so bring your refillable water. And it's a smart idea to also consider bringing some shade.
Yes. I mean, that's not necessarily for the tour part. It's for when you're walking out onto the dam. But you did remind me when we were leaving the house, hey, let's bring some umbrellas. And I was so thankful that you did because there is almost zero shade out there. Mm-hmm. And when you want to do the experience of walking across the dam, you don't want to have to stop because it's just too hot. So I had my umbrella. I saw a couple of people looking at me and pointing like, oh, that was a really good idea. And I was happy that I had it. So thank you for reminding me. So tip of the day, bring an umbrella with you if there's not going to be shade.
That's your birthday present. I spoil you. Also, if you don't want to do either one of those, we noted earlier, it is a few bucks to park and you can just walk around. But you cannot go inside, the dam. You can't go inside the power plant and everything. So you can explore the outside all you want. And, some people don't like when their national monuments and landmarks and things like that are under construction. I like to see construction on, not constant, but a little bit of construction on these places. Like the Hoover Dam, when we went, had a little bit of construction going on. Because it shows there's still an interest. Yeah. People are still interested in it. They're still wanting to upkeep it. They're still wanting to know about it and everything. And so there was a little bit of construction around some of the monument parts of the dam. But to me, that just shows that, hey, people are still interested in coming here. They're still willing to, the government is still willing to allot the money to, have this thing fixed up to
So one thing we didn't get to see because it was under construction was the exhibit house, which is kind of the museum part of it. So we were able to go see the movie. We went on the tours, but the exhibit house museum part is one of the areas that is under construction. So I'm hoping next time we go, maybe it's done and we can see that part of it. Yeah, absolutely. Every single time it seems a new phase is complete there. So stick with us. When we come back, we're going to have a little bit more about some know before you go, some good tips, and that one question that you are not allowed to ask. We're going to answer that for you. Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long, your host, here with Amy Long, my co-explorer.
Does anyone else think it's unnecessary that he introduces me every segment that we have?
If people are just tuning in, they want to know that sultry voice over there, that it is in mine. So, yes, it is.
It isn't.
It's also not necessary to tell them that we're coming to them from Las Vegas, Nevada, but why not? If you live here, you might as well tell them. And also that we're in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios doing this show. Did I mention my name is Jeremy Long? Did I mention anything? Here's my social security number. Anyway, we're talking about the Hoover Dam and some of the interesting facts and figures and everything. But we went on the tour and we had a lot of fun, a lot of unexpected kind of things. I mean, they kind of tell you that you're going to go into a ventilation shaft that supplies air and everything. But I don't know how to even describe it, but you had some fun.
So before we even start, we're standing in the building and we're looking at the Hoover Dam, and our tour guide points out the kind of the ventilation grates on the wall and shows us which one we're going to be looking out of. And I'm glad he did, because it really puts into perspective how deep into Hoover Dam we went. Yeah. I think they said on the elevator ride down, we went over 500 feet from the surface into the dam. Yeah. But you are inside the ground at one point. There what they called it seepage. There was little holes in the walls. Did you see that? And the water was kind of seeping down, and they had a little drainage thing on the side. Yeah. So it is a bit humid in there, which I was not expecting for it to be humid inside the wall of the dam. Yeah. And they did tell us, be careful. It could be a little bit slippery. So make sure you wear comfortable shoes, because it's a lot of walking. Mm-hmm. And that's something else to note. It is not handicap accessible. So if you're in a wheelchair or need assistance walking, the tour is not going to work for you, because there was quite a bit of walking, and in some places it's very, very narrow.
Right. And while they do have elevators that bring you up and down throughout the stop, I mean, there's a lot of stairs and different things. It's just something to note moving forward. And same goes for like scooters and different things like that. And, we kind of went in there, and there are parts of it that are air conditioned, and there's other parts that obviously are not. But once we get down into the ventilation shaft, and again, we're in a group of people, some poor soul started having a mild freak out, because the ventilation shaft isn't that big.
Yeah, I think they said it was a little over 6 feet in diameter. So it's a circle. Yeah. And it's just a little bit flat on the bottom, but it's still pretty curved. And so we're all single file. I'm short, and I still felt like I needed to hunch down a little bit. And we get pretty close to the end, and all of a sudden, you just hear somebody freaking out. I didn't know what was going on. I thought she fell. I wasn't sure what was happening. But no, as you walk through to the end of this ventilation shaft, there is actually a grate on the ground, and there is a shaft that goes down. I don't recall how far down it went, but when she realized that she was standing over basically emptiness below her, she freaked out, and she couldn't get out of there fast enough, because we are in a single file line, right. And she's trying to suddenly go back the other way.
No backsies.
No backseat.
Well, it is big enough where you can pass by somebody, but it's not big enough where you can, right. get out of the way quickly of someone who's having a little bit of an issue. So if you have a thing with tight spaces, just know that. And there are also, if you're prone to vertigo, because we encountered some steps, some like 700 steps or something. It was
700 steps. They said it was more used for inspections, because I didn't realize this, but when they were building it, they did have elevator shafts that took people, up and down, but the steps were really there as a secondary precaution and right. for inspections if needed. So it was gated off, but these steps were so steep that when we took a picture, you almost couldn't see the next step down. It was at such a steep angle. Like, this is what I have nightmares about. I can't imagine going down these stairs. It would be like going up and down a ladder.
Yeah. I felt like to go up and down, you'd be like crawling or something.
Yes.
On all four.
Absolutely.
And you learned a valuable lesson, kind of going back to the ventilation shaft. You and our daughter were in front of me, and you guys were kind of doing your thing. And you found out that metal sitting in the sun all day is hot.
It is hot. I put my phone against the metal grate to take a picture through it. And burnt my hand on the metal grate because, I'm smart. So I warned the people behind me, don't touch the metal.
And like lemmings, everyone behind her, they were all touching the metal.
But the tour guide did tell us not to put your phone through the grate because, the wind is something else you don't expect. When you're up on the dam or even on the bridge, the wind is blowing so hard. Like, you almost lost your hat. My umbrella flipped inside out. Yeah. So he did say, don't stick your hand out there because the wind will likely knock your phone out of your hand and you're never getting it back. So I can't
believe they won't go down there and get your broken phone for you.
So I was trying to take a picture through the grate and not
Jerks.
lose my phone. I burnt my hand
Yeah.
instead, but it's fine. I'm cool.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I mean, it is not a very long tour. I think it's right at an hour.
Right
or
at an
so.
hour. There are no restrooms once you start the tour. So they tell you like 5 times, go to the restroom before you
They
start.
don't let you pee out of the ventilation shaft. I mean, come on. Why is it there if not for that purpose? You know.
I mean, they have the seepage drains, right?
Again, they got seepage drains, and if you're seeping, there you go. I guess favorite part of the whole experience while we were there, we had some fun.
We did have some fun. I think it probably was walking inside there, and when you come out and you're looking through the grate that is literally in the center of the Hoover Dam, and just realizing how deep inside this wall that we were. It's like, even now, we just did this 2 days ago, and even now, I still can't quite wrap my head around being inside, like we were inside the dam.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating once you consider everything, and you're learning about this history while it's going on. Another, I think, popular question that people ask are, what about earthquakes and things of that nature? I believe the largest that they've ever recorded, and they do have active earthquake sensors all over. In fact, we passed by one getting to those steps.
Yeah.
The largest one was, I think, with 5.0 back in the 50s.
Right.
And there is still some damage
From it, yeah.
that they haven't repaired yet, or just left it as it was or whatever. But since then, we don't really get the sizable tremors that, say, California does. We feel aftershocks, and we've even felt them here in our part of town, but they've never been to that point. But basically, they're like, well, unless the Lake Mead is at Deadpool, which is, so many feet below what it's actually at right now, it's not really an issue. And it has to be pretty low for it to impact the dam itself on a major level. But I mean, it is possible. They say it could withstand, according to the engineering, it could withstand like an 8.6, which would be
a huge
devastation on a apocalypse kind of level for whoever or wherever that hit, much less at Hoover Dam or anything. So, tons of fun. You should go out there. It is a little bit of, maybe do it in the cooler months if you're susceptible to heat, because it does heat up. There's not a whole lot of shade.
I would say the thing we probably should mention is, if you're going to go to the bridge overlook, it is quite a bit of a walk to get up there.
Yeah.
You either go straight upstairs, or they do have a ramp for people with mobility issues, but it's a bit of a hike. And in the heat, it is not something that you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so finally, to answer the question that they will not answer, and the question that, will get you kind of, they'll roll their eyes at you every time. The one question they will not answer: how many people currently work at the dam? Everyone says they don't know. They're not told that information. It's for security purposes. They will not tell you how many people work at the dam.
Which immediately makes me think, who wants to know this, like, for real? Like, what
That's
people
why they
want
don't
to know
answer
this?
Because the wrong people want to know how many people work at the dam, which is kind of crazy. You look at it, you go, it's got to be hundreds at least, right? But like, you see like 3 people there all the time that are actually work for the dam. So who knows? It's a mystery within a mystery.
Aside from the tour guides, what are people doing?
Within a wall of concrete. That's the Hoover Dam for you. It is one of those that you need to go check it out anytime you come to Las Vegas. We go to it every
couple of years.
Every couple of years ago.
It's one of those places
it's wonderful.
You can stand in 2 places at once when you straddle the state line.
We love straddling here on the show. Sunscale Travel Show. We will see you guys next time.